Everyone, Chien here. We're going over the 8 elemental stances, or the 8 most common Shaolin Kung Fu stances that are used, in actual application. I'm not talking about all the weird cross-legged ones like resting stance, right? But we've gone over Mabu, earth, which is Ka'un. We've talked about Gongbu, okay, and then that's thunder projecting, okay. We've talked about basically the Maobu or Li, which is fire, which is kind of like a cat stance that we use. We talked about Jubu or empty stance, which I think of as Tui or lake, okay. We talked about Pubu, which is falling water, reverse archer stance, we call that, or, falling stance, right, Pubu. And then we just went on to talk about Ban Mabu, which is here, mountain, or Ken. And then the element of sun, which is wind, is a Du Libu, which is a one-legged stance, right? One-legged stance, wind, okay? And then other versions of wind that we use in Shaolin. And then this last one, it's basically the heaven element, okay? Which is Chien. And so I think of that, sometimes you'll see in long fist, especially northern styles, you'll see movements where somebody will be, maybe in Mabu, and then they'll come up and they'll lift the rear leg and they'll attack upward. Okay, and so you see that a lot in long fist Kung Fu, where, they'll punch and they'll bring up the rear leg. So what it does is it puts all their weight on this front leg and it shifts that weight so they can deliver power from this front leg all the way up and into somebody, okay? So that's called heaven. But there's another version of heaven, which is kind of like empty stance, right? But you're just shooting straight up, bringing like the crane wrist and the leg straight up. So I kind of consider both of those as being heaven, because you're here and it's this lifting energy, right? Whether it's the rear leg being lifted, or the front leg being lifted, okay? So it's considered one of the Du Libu, or the one-legged stance, right? But instead of it being, one leg, or like in crane, it's actually the rear leg that lifts. The rear leg lifts, okay? In this version of Du Libu, which is, again, I think of it as heaven or Chien. So as you're going through these 8 different stances, right, you'll find that some of them really fit together better than others. Thunder or Chien is Gongbu, is the one stance that really connects all the stances, because you'll be in Mabu or Ka'un, which is earth, and then you'll move into Chien, and then you'll come back into lake, which is Tui, which is Jubu, right? And then you'll move into Chien, and you might come down into Pubu, and then back into Gongbu, or Chien, thunder, right? So, but what you'll find is when you do earth, Ka'un, then it's really easy to move into heaven, okay? Or you might do heaven and then come back down into earth, right? Because they're almost kind of made to go with each other more than the other elements are. But almost all of these, I might come back into Jubu, empty stance, is then I can still move into Du Libu or heaven, Chien, coming up. And, I can come up from, say, mountain, Kien, which is down here. Then you can still rise into heaven, from any position, okay? So, again, heaven, if we've taken energy down, then it allows us to shoot up, down, shoot up, and then come back down. So then it really fits with the energy of heaven, because we're doing this energy of earth, and then we're doing this energy of heaven, and we might step back and do the energy of wind, right? And then do the energy of thunder, and then the energy of mountain. And so as you do these, you can actually kind of feel the energy of the stance and make like a form of Qigong out of it. Okay, so I think that was good for the element of heaven, which is Chien. And thanks again for joining me.